Latest Sabres news was obviously the hiring of senior advisor to the GM here in Buffalo, and that would be Jarmo Kekalainen, who's with us now. It's great to see you, Jarmo. Thank you for joining us here today. How are things? And take us through just how you ended up here in this role.
It was a quite a long process because I went through the interview process for other positions in the league, but I had talked to Kevyn before that, so I was very interested in the position that he was offering. I was interested in the situation and the challenge with Buffalo and the opportunity and the potential of the team. But also the role is important for me because I didn't want to be looked at as somebody who's retiring or doesn't want to do work. I want to be 100% in 24/7, doing everything I can to help Kevyn and the Buffalo Sabres, and that was a big part of why I wanted to join.
I'm going to ask Shayna Goldman from The Athletic. She's our Friday guest. And I'm going to ask her a question now because I'll forget, and then she'll be mad at me. So she wanted to know if the time between Columbus and Buffalo allowed you to kind of take a step back and see some adjustments, because some GMs go from job to job to job, or they kind of just keep on going. So is the time off giving you a different perspective and an adjustment and everything that you see around the league?
Definitely. I think it was the best decision I made, just to take some time off and reflect and learn from my experiences, my mistakes. I was over a year without being in the wheel of 24/7, and I wanted to broaden my views, and because you can easily get focused in that job where you're just looking at the task in hand every day, and it's a busy job. So I have a lot of appreciation of what Kevyn does and what he has to go through every day. But for me to take that time off and just learn and soak in information from different areas of life and hockey business, sports, it was probably the most educating time of my career since going to school or something, because I've been in hockey business since 1995 nonstop and never had this opportunity to take some time off and learn and just be better. And I'm a big believer that the day you think that you have nothing else to learn or nothing more to learn, that's the day you got to retire. And I'm definitely not there yet. So it was a great year and 3 months.
Clarkson alum, we're a good friend of the show, David Leggio. He was a Clarkson goalie. He sent me a text. He said, Jarmo equals Clarkson. Clarkson equals winning. Winning equals happiness. So the Clarkson group, but I was surprised because I did not know that about you. I knew your 30 years starting with Ottawa and, going through, the process of being a scout and an assistant GM and all of it. But you played, in the NHL, but you also played college hockey at Clarkson. So when you look back at your whole experience from playing to now being where you are, what do you think is the biggest change in the league these days?
Biggest change in the league, that it just keeps getting faster and faster, and obviously the players keep getting better and better, and I think that the game is great when you watch the playoffs. It just gets you excited, gets your blood flowing, and I love the game of hockey. I always have, but it's changed so much, and I've been through so many experiences where they were eye openers. You mentioned Clarkson. I come to Clarkson from Finland, where there was no internet, so I'm looking at the yearbook. So this is where I'm going. Go to Clarkson, and it's like, oh boy, go from Olympic-sized rink to Walker Arena at Clarkson. I was 80 feet wide.
Yeah.
And running into the boards, and so I've been through a lot of eye-opening experiences, but hockey keeps surprising me every year that you watch it, and it's just keeps getting better and better. And it's just such a great game and such a great team game is what really intrigues me about hockey, is that you can have a bunch of great individuals, but if you don't have a great team, you're never going to accomplish anything big.
What were you majoring in your 2 years at Clarkson?
Management.
Yeah.
Management. I graduated in 2 years because I'd gone to school in Finland, University of Tampere, for 2 years. So I was able to transfer some courses into Clarkson and graduate in 2 years and turn pro and had a cup of coffee in the NHL and more some amount of games in the American League, and And that was great too. It was always my dream to be in the NHL, and when I wasn't good enough to play more than 55 games, then I moved into the management and tried to get to the NHL from there.
But 55 games in the NHL, your first 2 NHL goals were both scored in Edmonton. Incredibly, on the same road trip. I don't know what was happening at the Garden at the time, but there was this exhaustive, seemingly season-opening road
Not
trip.
on back-to-back.
Not on back-to-back, like they were.
And come back.
They circled back.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you had 2 goals against Bill Ranford,
Yeah.
who would go on to win the Conn Smythe Trophy that year, and the Oilers' most recent Stanley Cup,
Yeah.
which was 1990.
Yeah, probably the worst 2 goals scored on Bill Ranford. You remember those for sure, and great memories. And I was very, very proud, obviously, to get the opportunity with the Boston Bruins. And even if it was for a short time, it's some of the best memories of my life.
But how is it that after a brief time with Boston, brief time with Ottawa, quickly in Sweden as a player, how is it that at age 29 you became a general manager in Finland, in Liga? Like immediately after the playing career was done.
Yeah, I had a brief stint there having an agent business, and I quickly grew it to a pretty successful business. I had Kimmo Timonen, Sami Kapanen, and Olli Jokinen, players that probably would have made more money if I stayed in the agent
I played
business.
with 2 of them, and the other one I know well, so because he scored on me a bunch. That's Oli. Oli used to score on me all the time, but I played with Kimmo and Sammy. And
So you went from the agency quickly into management?
Yeah. I built a good relationship with the president of IFK Helsinki, Frank Moberg, who just recently passed away, and rest in peace. He was a great man, and he really believed in me through the interactions that we had through the negotiations and talking about the team. And they were going through a process, which was the first time in Finland where they were hiring a general manager who was just concentrating on sports or the hockey part of it, where before they'd have the business president or CEO that would also handle the hockey side, but the head coach was responsible for most of the personnel decisions. But they were going through that process where the first time they had the model like the NHL, and he kind of encouraged me to apply for the job. So I did, and that was the first time I had a job interview, and the second time was this spring. So it's been a quick 30 years in hockey business after that.
Amazing. You mentioned Tampere, which is where Mika Nornen was born. Mika was a goalie here when I played here. I went to the World Championship in 2003. We were in Turku, which was unbelievable. I loved it. And then we played in Helsinki as well. I always have had amazing relationship with all the Finns. I always felt like they were, hardworking, down to earth, great people. I'm going to ask you, why is that? Why is it that it feels like the Finns and the Swedes to a certain extent too always kind of translates really well to North America and to the NHL?
Yeah, I think we're a small, humble country that way, but proud at the same time. But I think there's a culture of putting your hard work first and letting that speak to you. That's why we're probably so quiet most of the time. Finns are not known for their small talk, but
except for Tikkanen.
Well, yeah, that's that's a different story.
That was another one too.
Well, Jarkko Ruutu was
Jarkko was tough too. Yes.
Yeah, but only on the ice though. If you know him off the ice, he's completely different. And I had him in Columbus as a player development guy. So he's I managed him in Helsinki Jokerit when he was still playing, and I asked him once, like, what happens when you put the helmet on? Some kind of a switch goes on when he gets on the ice. He's a completely different guy, but a great guy. But no, Finns are the culture in our country is about not bragging, letting your work and your do the talking, and I think that's a good way of doing things. And I credit to my parents. I've always grown up in that type of culture and atmosphere as well. That keep your mouth shut and listen a lot and let your work do the talking.
Sabres senior advisor Jarmo Kekalainen is with us. Jarmo, after that time, starting at age 29 as general manager in Finland, it was back with the Senators organization, and then a lengthy stay with the Blues, and obviously more than a decade with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Are there people that you would still view now, in hindsight, as mentors along the way, people that have really helped shape your existence in the NHL?
Absolutely. I think that I've had the privilege to work with people that I've been able to learn a lot from, and that's a big part of any business, that you have leadership like that. I work with a guy by the name of Marshall Johnston, who was a great talent evaluator, highly organized guy that taught me a lot about the scouting side, the player evaluation side. Ray Shiro, who just recently passed away, he gave me my first job and first opportunity in the NHL. Just such a great man. Larry Plow hired me in St. Louis. Doug Armstrong joined there when I was still there. Guys that have been very successful in the league, and John Davidson. I have a great relationship to this day with him. I'd consider him a friend or almost a father figure. He's been great to me always in St. Louis, and then hiring me with Columbus Blue Jackets and gave me that opportunity. And so I think it's all about that. You learn from the people that you work with and you have respect for, and they show you the ropes and the leadership part of it. And I always say that even from the playing days, you learn the most from the people that are true leaders. You learn the most. You learn more than you ever learn in school.
Oh yeah.
From just even though it was just for a few games, sitting in the locker room with Ray Bourque and Cam Neely and watching them, how they lead the team is I've always made it as an example that tells you a lot more about leadership than sitting in the classroom.
You ever think about the names you just mentioned? Like, that is such an impressive list of people who are
great professors
so respected in this game, that you've had that close a connection with those people. I know a lot of people would feel differently about other players or other people that have impacted, but it just really hit me.
Yeah, and I'm probably forgetting some people that I should thank for that too. But I've always been a sponge as far as listening a lot and trying to learn from different people, different styles, how they handle different situations, and the one thing that with all those people is very common is how they treat people, and how respectful they are and how honest they are. And that was a big part of why I wanted to come here, because I had a lot of respect for Kevyn Adams, the type of person he is, the honesty he's shown me, the respect he's shown me, and how he's handling this situation. And I had a great conversation with Terry Pegula, and that was very convincing as well. And that's a big part of my decision, along with seeing the potential in the group, but also having the opportunity to work with great people.
It's interesting because you talk about the Finns, how it's a quiet nation, but put a lot of hard work. You're a really well-spoken person, and the experience is there. And then when we talked to a lot of people around the league, they said, well, you're pretty aggressive. When you look at your time in Columbus, right? Like, you had Panarin and Bobrovsky, you were aggressive and keeping them and trying to make the push. And do you think, or do you consider yourself an aggressive type of hockey operation person, or is this just the look that we've been getting a little bit from you?
I think I'm aggressive when it's time and place to be aggressive, but I'm also, I'd say I'm pretty analytical, and I have the poise to also, look at the situation and take a step back and analyze it, rather than reacting into something just because you feel like something's got to be done. But if the situation and the opportunity is right, I can be aggressive, and it all depends on where the team's at in its development and growth. And then when the window opens, I think you need to be aggressive, because the window to win with a team is never open forever. It's that certain period of time of your core players' prime, and that's when you need to be aggressive to make sure you surround them with the right mix to win.
So you mentioned not even having internet when you decided to go to Clarkson. I'm curious, when you talk of being analytical and of that nature, what you've appreciated as far as kind of tools at your disposal as time has gone on in a management role, things that you've come to really appreciate in helping you evaluate personnel.
Yeah, that part's developing quickly too, and this year and a change was also an opportunity for me to learn some things about what's out there now that you can utilize and stay on top of how things are developing. So I've gone from scratching names on the board and writing them again to using spreadsheets to getting it on RinkNet to now learning a lot about the use of AI and machine learning and how you could utilize that and do things faster and more efficiently. And so I think you always got to stay on top of the tech and how you can, if you think of just the last 20 years, then smartphones came in and like, I'm not sure that I like the touch screen, but now you can live without it. Same thing with the laptops, and so I think it's you have to stay current with everything.
Were you a BlackBerry guy with the keyboard before to go into the iPhones?
Who wasn't?
Like I hated the BlackBerry,
really?
But everybody loved it because of the keyboard.
Yeah, I moved fast into the touchscreen. To be honest with you,
good.
It's just yeah.
So, is there a type of player? Through all of this, through all of your years of evaluating, is there still something that you gravitate to, a trait, something that is still kind of at your core that you see a player and you just respect that immensely in them?
I would have to say that, which is something that I always say to the scouts that I work with too, is that anybody can see the skill, anybody can see who can shoot the puck and skate. The hardest part of evaluation is seeing what's in here and what's in here, and that's the competitiveness, the drive, the desire, the willingness to win and do everything to win. Those are the important things that you need to see in a player, recognizing a player, and then go get that player. And that's also the hardest part. So scouting's all about hard work. It's not about seeing the frosting on the cake and thinking that you can go see a player or a prospect and see him a couple times and now you know him. You're not going to know much about him, but if you see him again and again, you see his good game, you see his bad game, the average game, when the pressure is on, the bright lights are, all those things together, now you know the player, and that's when you can really learn about his character and competitiveness and all those things, the drive, and those are the most important parts for me.
Physicality, everybody's talking about Sam Bennett in the playoffs now, and oh man, he's going to make $10 million next year or whatever. But it's like you see that shiny new toy in the physicality. That's something that has been kind of I don't want to say a priority, but something that's high on the list.
Yeah, it's part of the competitiveness, I think, too, because there are big guys that should play physical but don't, and then there are smaller guys that compete hard and play physical, and the physicality is still a big part. A little intimidation, still a big part of the NHL. You watch the playoffs; it's a man's game, and you got to have a group of guys that are willing to put their body on the line, whether it's blocking shots or going into the corner first and getting to a loose puck and retrieve it, or if there's a little bit of a battle in front of the net, you always push back and you never back down, and that's a big part of physicality. It's not necessarily on being the aggressor or intimidator, but it's never giving up and always pushing back and being there for your teammate as well.
Thank you for the time today. We have to take a quick break.
Really, it wasn't us. It was AI
it was
Brian
great to have
Duff
you.
and AI Marty Biron.
Oh,
today.
please.
So we got the real Jarmo, but there was AI.
We definitely got the real Jarmo. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Jarmo Kekalainen, Senior Advisor here in Buffalo.